After taking this hit to the head and laying motionless on the ground, I was pretty stunned to see Davante Adams return for the Packers' final drive to win the game. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and this is your #1 source for learning about the unique medical side of the world of sports. Davante Adams took a shot here, where there was clear contact to his helmet, not only on the initial impact, but then also as his head came to the ground and struck the turf. So then as we see Adams lay motionless on the ground with his right arm just loosely flopping behind him here, I was certainly concerned that he had had a concussion. We combine that with this stunned kind of deer in the headlights look that Adams had while he was on the ground, and I thought it was concerning to see how this all went down. Of course, after the game, Adams said that he wasn't concussed, he just was having trouble breathing on the ground, but you don't really just let your arm loosely flop behind you while people kind of move it around if you're truly conscious. And this gets us into another sticky situation about concussions in the NFL. I'll also say I think this is a dirty hit. I think this is what the NFL is trying to get rid of, and there's no doubt that the 49ers defender here lowers his helmet to go directly into Adams. And yes, technically his shoulder barely makes contact with his chest first, but this is exactly the dangerous type of hit that can lead to serious injuries and head trauma on the field that we're trying to get rid of. We don't want players to use their bodies like projectiles, and that's exactly what the 49ers player is trying to do here. Think of the sudden force that this causes to Adams' head. He's coming in this direction, kind of towards the defender, and then in just a split second, boom, all of his momentum changes in the exact opposite direction, and that's all being transmitted through his body and partly up into his head. Unfortunately, because most concussions are a subjective diagnosis, we end up in a lot of situations like this. But when we think about signs and symptoms of concussion, I think it makes a little bit more sense. We'll talk about that next, but first I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video. If you're looking for a better way to shop for new, affordable, high-quality eyewear, then the sponsor of today's video, Warby Parker, is just for you. Warby Parker is committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores, offering eyeglasses, sunglasses, eye exams, and contact lenses. By walking through their simple online quiz, you're going to actually be able to try on eyeglasses and sunglasses for free to see what they actually look like on your face at home. Try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There's no obligation to buy. It ships free and includes a prepaid return shipping label. Glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. The home try-on program is so convenient because you can actually try them on in person, get the thoughts of your friends and family, and really appreciate the quality of these glasses and how they look and fit on your face. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/BrianMD. And for every pair of glasses sold, Warby Parker distributes a pair to someone in need. So you know that your money is also going to be going to help others out. So head to warbyparker.com/BrianMD to get your next pair of glasses in a much more affordable and efficient way. Thanks again to Warby Parker for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to our learning. With any diagnosis or disease, we can think of signs and symptoms. A symptom is something you feel. So for a concussion, it's something like a headache, dizziness, memory impairment, and so on. But a sign is some physical thing that you display. It's either something on your exam or something like in a concussion, posturing, a fencing response, where after a head trauma, the player kind of reflexively extends that arm out. Seizures, those are going to be signs of a head trauma. Loss of consciousness is another sign of a head trauma, and it doesn't matter if you lost consciousness for 5 seconds or 1 minute. If you have a mechanism of head impact and head trauma combined with a loss of consciousness, period. End of story. That's a concussion. The challenge in sports is oftentimes athletes will get knocked out or briefly unconscious on the field, but by the time they get off the field, they say they don't feel any symptoms, they want to go back in the game, and you might not find anything abnormal on the exam. So if you've missed some of these signs, then you might think that they're okay. But then they can develop delayed symptoms, and they're still at risk if they go back in. To me, Adams laying on the ground here with that right arm just completely limp behind him, that's about as clear a sign of somebody who's at least altered from a mental status as it gets. Certainly in these situations, it can just feel like you're stunned. Even if you're not completely black out, you don't have full awareness here. If you have full awareness, you don't let your arm just be really raped up behind you like this. We combine that with kind of that deer in the headlights look, and so those are concerning signs for concussion, especially given the head trauma that we know he had. In these situations, it can be tough for the medical team on the sideline because they might not have seen that exact sign. It was a few seconds, they might have missed it. But the NFL has concussion spotters, people who sit up in the booth and review the video specifically for this reason, to look for posturing, to look for signs of concussion in players on the field, things like this, to point that out, to let the medical team know that, hey, Even if they're telling you they feel okay, they displayed clear signs of a concussion, and it doesn't matter what their exam shows, they're done. It's unfortunate because situations like this, where the public sees this and says, gosh, he looked like he was clearly knocked out, gives people the impression that when he comes back in, they just don't care about player health. And so it's a challenging conversation whichever side you look at. But it's important to have this conversation because we're not perfect with how we handle head injuries. And when situations like this occur, if something is missed and a player ends up having delayed symptoms and we find out in a couple of days that Adams is in a concussion protocol, we need to be able to go back and look at these things and say, hey, okay, this was missed. We need to think about this differently or do this differently. So to put it all together, we have number one, a mechanism of head trauma. We have a clear contact to the head from another defender, combined with signs of altered mental status on the field, with that right arm being seemingly unresponsive and just totally limp here when Adams is down initially. Yes, it only lasted a few seconds, but a few seconds of altered mental status after a head impact is enough for a concussion. For Adams' health, I hope that I'm wrong here, but I think these situations are important to address because, again, we need to keep learning from them. Of course, I'm always going to be on the more conservative side because I'm a healthcare professional whose priority number one is the health of these athletes. And so I welcome any feedback or comments below what you all think about situations like this. Do you have full faith and trust in the medical team they're evaluating him that, yeah, they saw this, they weren't concerned? Or do you think we need to keep having these conversations going forward? That's it for the video, everybody. Let me know as always any questions or comments down below. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.